I'm Patty Ann Brown. A roadblock in the effort to stop the leak in the Gulf for good. Debris has been found at the bottom of the oil well, and it must be cleared before crews can start pumping mud. President Obama made his way to the Motor City today, appearing at Chrysler and General Motors plants. He told workers his administration's bailout of the auto industry has saved more than 1 million jobs. And the proud father of a bride-to-be made a big splash in the small town of Rhinebeck, New York today on the eve of his daughter's wedding. Former President Bill Clinton will walk Chelsea down the aisle there tomorrow. For more on these stories, visit foxnews.com. Glenn Beck returns in a moment, but first, Chris Wallace previews special report. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Patty Ann. Coming up, Republicans say they want answers after a controversial immigration memo surfaces, and 2 New York congressmen face off in an explosive battle over 9/11. Join me for a special report. Now back to Glenn Beck reporting from New York.
Idea what the Boston Tea Party was about.
That's right.
They don't know their history at all. This is about hating a black man in the White House. This is racism straight up. That is nothing but a bunch of tea-bagging rednecks.
A lot of the things that have been said, they create a climate in which people who are vulnerable to violence because they're disoriented, like Timothy McVeigh was, are more likely to act.
We're here now to understand the frustration of the tea-baggers and the people that are angry, because many times when you're angry, your rational abilities are compromised.
The last time I had to confront something like this was when I voted for the Civil Rights Bill and my opponent voted against it. At that time, we had a lot of Ku Klux Klan folks and white supremacists and folks in white sheets and other things running around causing trouble.
I would just like to tell John Conyers that sometimes when you're in Congress for 400 years, your rational thinking also goes a little off the tracks. Talking about tea parties tonight, the 9/12 movement, and much more. Mark Skoda, Jenny Beth Martin, Matt Kibbe, and Yvonne Donnelly are here from their groups. I want to go to that. I want to start there. Racism.
Racism. We don't put up with it in Tea Party Patriots at all. We don't want it in the NAACP. We don't want it in our movement. And if somebody comes to one of our events, we're going to tell them to leave. And we have stood up against Tea Party Express because they had a racist spokesperson who they stood by. And they have a history of standing by people who make racist comments. We're not going to stand with racists.
Okay.
We refuse to.
We'll get their side of the story here on that in just a second. I agree with you. Any racism must be rejected. It will destroy us. It will destroy us.
You know, we formed the Federation, the National Tea Party Federation, as a result of the N-word epithets that were supposedly, allegedly shouted. It came out of that to push back on this narrative. And in fact, on the founding of the Federation, which is not speaking for the Tea Party, it's not a representative entity other than a group of like-minded people, about 400, 500,000 members, who actually reject violence, bigotry, racism, and specifically formed it in that context. I would say that I think it's very, very clear. It is messy when you work with federations and groups, as Jenny Beth knows, with 2,500 groups in the Tea Party Patriots. There are always going to be people who, as you said, are the nut jobs. But we work very, very hard, and certainly in the Federation, we work to denounce that and to renounce those people.
And we're standing together as Americans.
Amen.
I mean, this is what was inspired by you. On 9/12, we stood shoulder to shoulder as Americans. It wasn't about color. It wasn't about religion. So that's what we're working towards, is standing together as Americans.
Matt,
this is a colorblind movement. We judge people based on their values, the content of their character.
no, please. Are you hijacking the MLK movement?
I might be.
Everyone
inspired by
You know
that.
what? We're not hijacking it. We're living what he did.
You know what? Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
great.
Somebody said about me the other day, because I'm doing this event on 8/28, and it's the anniversary of Martin Luther King, and Glenn Beck is hijacking that movement. Who does he think he is? The replacement for Martin Luther King? First of all, no. Second of all, yes, everyone is. You're all supposed to do it.
Right.
And just a note to America and any of the lefties, if you would like to preach about the content of character, you can take it too. You should. We all should. The next thing is that they're painting people into terrorists, painting people into dangers. You know, we had a sniper in Oakland, California, trying to kill police. At the same time, we have another guy who appears to be against the Tides Foundation, and he goes down and he's going to try to kill people at the Tides Foundation. I'm tied to the Tides Foundation in this story because, quote, how scary is this? We've searched all of the television records, and Glenn Beck is the only host that spoke about the Tides Foundation in the last year. That's terrifying. But I'm tied to that. But nobody's even talking about the sniper from the left trying to shoot the police officer.
Of course.
So where do you stand on violence?
Well, you gotta call these guys out. And what we did on April 15th, and we were dealing with this problem. Our events are open to the public. We invite everybody that wants to be nonviolent, that wants to share these values. And what we had was the left threatening to crash our party. They called themselves Tea Party crashers. And all we could think to do is to say from the stage again and again and again, we won't tolerate racists, we won't tolerate haters. If you have a sign that we find offensive, I'm asking the community around you to politely ask you to leave. If you won't leave, I'm asking them to take a picture of you. We're going to post it on our website, and you can explain to your mother why you were holding that sign.
That's great.
And you know what? We didn't have any problems. And that's what's so beautiful about this community. Again, the left is trying to smear these good people because that's all they have left. They're not violent. They're not any of these things that they're saying.
We're not violent. You know where the violence has come from? We were in the office on 9/11 at Freedom Works getting ready for the 9/12 march, and we had to go out and evacuate because of a bomb threat that the mainstream media didn't cover.
I think we did.
In St. Louis, Kenneth Gladney has been attacked by unions. In Florida, Tea Party people have been attacked by the opposition, and the same thing in North Carolina. It's not happening on our side, it's happening from the other side.
And we all get the hate mail. We all get the phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it is just part and parcel. I was amused this week, though, I have to say. They couldn't get the violence to stick. They couldn't get the racism to stick. Now they're calling us Republicans. Tim Kaine.
And that is offensive.
And maybe that will.
Back in just a second.